Well, good evening, fellow explorers. It's that time again. Um, I'm not sure if Jen's going to be joining or not, so you're going to have to deal with me probably for the next hour or hour and a half, which kind of concerns me because I usually hear from Jennifer during the week, and she hasn't put out a lot of shows this week. I think she only put out one show Tuesday or something like that, and usually she's got one every other day. So I hope everything's okay with her. Um, but I'm gonna continue as the saying goes, the show must go on. So hello everybody, hello Casey, Karen, Kimberly, Lady Knievel, and who else we got? Looks like we got Julie as well. So hello ladies. I don't think there's any gentlemen yet in the audience. Karen, have you heard anything from Miss Eason this week? I know that you guys are kind of tight too. So anyway, we're going to talk about the usual. I've got a lot of stuff that's kind of crazy this week that I ran across, not just memes. We're going to talk about more giant stuff. We're going to talk about some vehicles. There are some crazy vehicles. We're going to talk about some hidden transportation. We're going to talk about teleportation, levitation. What else do I have in my fun little folder here? Giants, of course. I always have to talk about giants. And then some ancient technology. And of course, there'll be a few memes involved as well. So with that being said, let's start out with something not too crazy. So we'll start out with this Western Pacific Railroad. I'm going to share the screen here. All right. Of course, that's small, but and again, thanks to Tartaria or History and Tartaria channel, whatever that is on Telegram. I get a lot of stuff from there. Get a lot of stuff from YouTube. So as we've talked about in the past, we talk about the mud flood. We talk about the idea that our history has been hidden. It's been removed. They've got us with blinders on. So I came across this picture of these people digging up in this field, and this is a Western Pacific Railroad picture. And if my recollection serves, the Western Pacific Railroad was actually building a railroad, not digging up a railroad. So if you look at let's see a better picture here, you can see wherever they're digging here, there's clearly railroad tracks underneath about 1.5 feet or almost 2 feet of dirt, mud, whatever you want to call it. Oops, maybe we'll scroll down. My comments are lost here. Okay, so I just found that really interesting that I keep stumbling across these pictures that show transportation on top of transportation, or the idea that because this is obviously an old picture, and for this old picture to depict this group of people digging up a railroad that's clearly been buried for some time, kind of says a lot to me, because I mean, weren't railroads, according to our history, a little more of a modern invention, like 1800s ish? So if you're taking a picture in the 1800s of something that's buried that long, I don't know what to tell you. Let's see, Casey, or yeah, Karen. Yes, Casey. So she was locked out of YouTube? Interesting. No, I just hope she's okay. That's all I got to say. Moving on. Yeah, I thought they used railroads too, Casey. In addition to the whole railroad thing, we're going to talk about an analog computer. Some of you may have seen this already. But the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient analog computer. Question mark. When the Antikythera mechanism was first discovered, it left scholars deeply confused, and for good reason. This ancient invention was discovered on the small, geographically unique Greek island called Antikythera, an island located between the more popularly known islands of Kythera and Crete. The device was found in 1901 in sunken wreckage by divers out looking for sponges. On the wreckage, divers found beautifully preserved artifacts, nothing too out of the ordinary, until they came across a greenish encrusted lump. The idea is that it was part of an ancient analog computer, complete with bronze components stored in a wooden box. They seem to be, over the last several decades, they seem to keep finding these anomalous pieces of technology in especially in that part of the world, like in Italy, Greece, like the Mediterranean area. And some of this stuff is incredibly old, but it's clearly mechanical in nature. And some of it I've seen really fine, intricate like clockwork, like really like they didn't really supposedly develop until I want to say around the Victorian era, when they started really pushing really fine pieces of watches or jewelry and that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right, nobody's. Okay, there's a little bigger picture. As you can see, it's just clearly, it's interesting to me. You know, stuff like this really fascinates me. I hope it does you too as well. Yes, Casey, that is a part. It is a supposedly part of an analog computer, but who knows? I've seen ancient watch mechanisms or things that look like watch mechanisms. I thought this was crazy this week. This was funny when I saw this. People were posting videos of their pets and that kind of stuff, and I ran across this. The Sinophere, or dog-powered velocipede. It was invented by the French mechanic M. Huret and patented on December 14th, 1875. It consisted of a three-wheeled vehicle, a kind of tricycle, weighing 80 kilograms, and was moved by two dogs placed on the inner wheels. So you can see by these pictures here that you basically had a seat in the middle. You had like a little wheel with a handlebar. Then you had these two like gerbil things over here, and they put their dogs inside of them. Apparently, when the dogs moved, so did the little tricycle-y looking crazy thing. I never saw that until this week, to be honest with you. Those 1800s people were very clever. Funny how a lot of that clever stuff disappeared after 1920. Yes, like a hamster. I just thought that was just hit me a funny way the other day. See, Lady Knievel says, my dog would look at me like, really? I don't think so. If I had a dog, she probably, or he probably would think the same thing. All right, ran across this too. This is interesting. The Dynasphere vehicle. There's going to be a few vehicles in this video, just FYI. The Dynasphere vehicle, patented in 1930 by the British engineer John Archibald Purves, however you pronounce that, inspired from a sketch by Leonardo da Vinci. I want to play this video clip really quick. It's not that long. I think, yeah, it's a minute and a half, so it's kind of an interesting vehicle.
Gravity itself is our motive power and pulls us along. We can start on ice, we can start on mud or slime, because we are not trusting to pushing the wheel round, to get ourselves going. The steering is also interesting. The steering is done this way, by twisting the whole track over to one side. And you will notice that while we are quite vertical, quite level, the sphere on the outside tips over as I curve, and we can therefore run round corners in accordance with our tip.
Credit to the British Pathé channel. And yes, Karen, inventions back then had no limit. That is absolutely the truth. I think that's, can you imagine a whole freeway of those things right now, like out in California or New York or something like that? People wrecking into each other and knocking each other off of bridges and stuff like that. That would just, that would, that would be a sight to see. Julie says, looks like fun to me, right, Casey? No power steering. Yeah, no power steering. Get your head back in the car. Keep your arms in the car. Can you imagine if it had like a back seat and you had kids and stuff with you? That would be kind of crazy. Yeah, it does look fun. I will say it does look fun. So there's another vehicle here somewhere. Hold on one sec. Here we go. Called the mono wheel. Similar concept. This mono wheel was from 1935, so around the same time. A giant wheel has within its circle the motor and the steering wheel. The inventor driving the bike wheel demonstrates the qualities of lightness and maneuverability. So let's watch this little clip.
Inventore della motoruota si esibisce con il suo originale.
Pay no attention to whatever they're saying because I obviously do not understand French or whatever, Italian, whatever this is. So if you do, God bless you. But I'll turn the volume down.
Originale veicolo che secondo lui ha tutti I requisiti per fare concorrenza alle motociclette.
Really doing donuts in the parking lot. Just casually cruising along with a smoke in your mouth, you know. But can you imagine some of that stuff that we've shown on this show right now in modern times? If we lived in a time where you had blimps or other dirigibles, Zeppelins, these mono wheels, these Dynaspheres, and everything else they came up in that time. They had all kinds of crazy stuff. They had levitating boards. They had, oh, here's a self-parking car from, oh, hey, Jennifer. Jen says, it's me, Jennifer. I'm having the craziest time with tech. You're always having the craziest time with tech. Are you able to join with audio or anything before I get too far into this? Yes, Jennifer. Send the link here. Okay, I will do that. Hold on a sec. Oh no, that means Karen's going to see it too. I'm just kidding, Karen. Not that I wouldn't care that you're on the show. And it actually might be fun if you want to join. What the heck? Get room for 10 people. There you go. The jig's up. The news is out. They finally found me. All right, Jen, there's your link. And actually, anybody else that wants to join, if you want to, you don't have to show your face. You can do audio. Karen, if you want to join, Kimberly, Casey, whoever, Lady Knievel, Julie. Julie probably doesn't want to be seen. So we're going to pause just a second. And I'm safe. I have no camera. Oh, there she is. Jennifer.
Oh my God.
How you doing, sister?
Hello.
I feel like I'm got you or something.
Okay, I feel like I'm in really like, you know, the movies where they're like dispatching from war. Like this is what it feels like. I can't explain to you the bizarreness that I'm having with all of my technology. My phone is gone. My laptop gone. Now my iPad gone. I'm using another iPad. It's so bizarre. Geez. I tried to log on, right? I couldn't get into my email. Like the app wouldn't open up before the show, you know? And so then I tried to reboot. I figured, okay, I'll reboot my iPad. Once I rebooted, it just stayed stuck on the little, you know, when you reboot and you see the Apple first show up, it won't go past that.
Which version of the iPad do you have?
I don't know.
You know?
Like right off I'd have to look on the back of it, but I can't explain to you like the amount of devices right now that I'm having trouble with. So I'm really sorry, everybody. But
oh no, I knew something was up because you weren't posting videos this week and you weren't doing your radio thing or whatever. So I figured it was tech related. I didn't want to go down the road like they found Jen's fig plantation and they raided it or something or whatever. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry to be such a I'm still fighting past it. I've been doing the radio thing, but I haven't been able to get into my YouTube channel. So right now I'm having a time. But anyway, I'm glad you were able, because I said maybe I can go, you know, I was trying to think through this right now. I said, oh, I could grab another device, go onto the show, into the chat, and let John know that I'm stuck in the real world. I can't get into the web. I'm in the real world. You see what I'm saying? I couldn't get in.
Yes. I know, believe me. Stick around for a little bit after the show and I'll walk you through some stuff and we'll figure it out for you.
Thank you.
Glad you're safe though. Glad you made it, because
thank you.
The solo crap's for the birds. So anyway, have you seen anything so far yet of the show?
Today?
Yes.
I'm putting this on a stand so that I won't have to hold it, because that might be a little weird. I just have to get used to doing things a little different. Bear with me. No, I didn't get to see anything because I've been running around trying to fix and then figure out how can I get into this web and let you know that I'm having tech issues, like major.
Well, you really haven't missed a whole lot. I showed this picture, but I know you'll enjoy this picture. I actually specifically got this one for the fellow mud flutter here. This was supposedly a picture from the Western Union or Western Pacific Railroad, and they're digging up an old railroad under about 2 feet of mud. So if this picture was taken in the 1800s or whatever it was, and this railroad was buried under a couple feet of mud already, how old was that railroad when technically the railroad didn't exist in the United States until whatever, 1850 or whatever it was. So I just thought this would be right up your alley here.
Definitely. Wow.
And then I moved on to, you know how we like the 1800s and all the strange vehicles and stuff they make and all the inventions and everything. So there was this dog-powered tricycle. So basically they had a dog on each wheel And that's how there's like a gerbil tricycle, but with dogs.
Mm-hmm.
That's some craziness to me. Then they had this Dynasphere. Can you imagine? I asked the same question. Can you imagine a freeway full of these?
Gravity itself is our motive power and pulls us along. We can start on ice, we can start on mud or slime, because we are not trusting to pushing the wheel round to get ourselves going.
You can have this on your island.
Also interesting, steering is done this way, by twisting the whole track over to one side. And you will notice that
Doesn't it sound like that cooking woman, that British cooking lady? What's her name?
Yes, Julia Childs.
There you go. Thank you.
It did.
we are quite vertical, quite level. The sphere on the outside tips over as ice curve, and we can therefore run round corners in accordance with our
I just noticed that guy had a camera in there. He was like filming it while he was sitting behind this dude.
Really? Oh, I missed that.
See the camera right there?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Can you imagine, I was saying before, can you imagine having a car seat or something back there and the kids are back there? Keep your hands in the car. Keep your feet in. Keep your head in. You're going to flip it over.
That's funny.
Stop screaming at me. I'm driving the right way.
This is great. It's amazing.
And it's just, to me, there was some, pardon my French, but some cool shit going on in the 1800s that suddenly stopped in like 1920.
Yeah.
I mean,
weird.
yes, a Sony cam. That's right. But these things are cool. I mean, somebody had the thought to,
wow.
Hey, I'm going to make a wheel that I can sit in and drive around in. Screw that 4-wheel car, or screw the horse and carriage and buggy and whatever. I'm doing this. They were obsessed with giant wheels because they had those big unicycles too. You remember they had just like that giant wheel and the teeny little wheel in the back. So that's, to me, this is
super cool.
Just part of that that whole. And then I showed this mono wheel, this
Inventore della motoruota si esibisce con il suo
I love the Italians or whoever this is.
concorrenza alle motociclette.
Oh, wow. Oh, that looks like so much fun. That's so cool.
And he's doing donuts in the parking lot.
And he has good shoes on, you know? Not
He's got his hat, got his suit on, or his jacket, his shoes, and he's smoking a cigarette.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
All these people following him. It looks like a Little Rascals episode, you know, like
It did.
Somebody stole the wheel.
Yeah.
And then there was one, I thought there was one other thing here. Maybe there isn't. Oh, I was going to show this, right? This is when you came on. It was a self-parking car in 1930, I think. I had never seen this before. This is kind of cool, actually.
And if traffic was bad, the parking problem was impossible. Just like that. So one California genius disproved the simile useless as a fifth wheel. His fifth wheel aimed sideways, and with it you could sneak into the taxi.
They're like, screw parallel parking. I mean, seriously, that's kind of a cool idea. A wheel pops down in the back if you can't parallel park, and it just wings the rear end into place.
With new cars getting bigger and parking spaces getting smaller, at Piedmont, California, an inventor has developed something to soothe the motorist's headache by putting the spare tire to work.
Look, that one's in the trunk and it's
He
popping
calls
down.
this device the park car and says it can be installed on any model. Watch how it works.
Wow.
Taking power from the drive shaft, the spare tire swings the rear end into the clear. Then
That's
he just
brilliant.
cranks there, backs into the street, and away we go.
Oh wow. Oh
It's
my.
handy for parking in inaccessible garages, too. Here's a narrow driveway, but with the spare tire put to work, the car can turn a complete circle in its own radius. And parking is simple indeed.
Whoa. That's
Even
so
the worst
cool.
driver can make the garage without denting a fender with the aid of fifth wheel driving.
Even the worst driver. I love it.
That's so cool.
It'd make for an all new conversation at the dinner table. Honey, I wrecked the car because I parallel parked into a sign or something, you know.
And you can tell the car's quality. Can't you just see the heaviness and real like materials?
That's a Cadillac there, it looks like.
Wow. Amazing.
I never knew they existed.
Wow. That's really fascinating.
Can you imagine
Super cool.
if somebody had a hot rod and they did that and they gunned it and they just flipped it right over or flipped it right around like did a 360 and just kind of.
Oh wow.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking all kinds of things here.
Yeah. Super cool.
I'm telling you that before 1920, there was a lot of cool stuff. And then after that, it's just kind of few and far between. And this is one of those few and far between things that I just happened to stumble across. And apparently it was around for a while because the first part of the video showed like cars from the 20s. And then the second video showed cars from the like 30s, 40s era, you know. I think those were from the 40s. So
Okay.
The idea had been around for a little while, at least. Yeah, so that's crazy to me. That's just, it's
is.
cool.
It is. It's so cool and crazy. Cool. Crazy cool.
Can you imagine being in a parking lot today? Well, first of all, can you imagine a world, and I brought this up earlier, can you imagine a world where there were still Zeppelins and blimps and dirigibles and other flying vehicles?
Wow.
And you had all those wheel vehicles like the mono wheel and the Dynasphere and the self-parking car. Can you imagine just on a daily walking down a street or going through the parking lot of the mall, all the kind of crazy stuff you'd see if a lot of the stuff would have continued from like the 1800s? And yeah, he did say the fifth wheel, Karen. He said the fifth wheel driving, yo.
And you know, I can picture what you're saying when you ask that question. I'm picturing the type of society that would lend itself to have those kind of inventions.
Mhm.
The society would be different in terms of the consciousness. So when you said that, I started to not just see a picture like of all that tech, but I was imagining what would the people be like. And it would be, to me, it would be like something we can't imagine in terms of humanity. I think it would be much more advanced and much more in terms of like less violent. And
Yes.
you know, that's what I'm picturing when you said that. That's so deep that you said, imagine having all those, like if you're flying around in Zeppelins and things like that, you're not going to be worried about the same things that we worry about in our, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a
Right.
whole different way of looking at life. So the people are going to engage with the world in a way we have not seen. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around encountering even a person, you know, just to talk to them from
Yes.
a period that they would have such things. I wouldn't even know we may not even be able to communicate, right? Like, Think about
Yeah.
that. Like we might not be able to find words that would make string along sentences to understand each other, and
Right.
and it would be English, but like, do you see what an
Be like Pig
advanced
Latin, but funner.
yeah, funner.
Well, because when I think about it, I imagine a much happier society, a much more productive society, a place where people are they're enjoying themselves. I mean, how could you not enjoy yourself if you were alive at a time when all this is going on, when people are inventing things and having fun with things, and they're having fun with the vehicles they're driving and flying and everything else, and it's just and you're right. I think the language would probably have evolved along with it, as far as like I can imagine like a Woodstock dialect, like a hippie language or something, because they're so laid back.
Right.
And
Yeah. That's
like
a good
Yama,
point.
Yaman, you know, kind of thing, like a Jamaican Rastafarian kind of thing.
Oh wow,
Like
that's a cool
you
idea.
want to ride to the bank, man? Yeah, okay, man. Hop onto my wheel, you know, or hop in the back of the wheel, or get in my blimp, you know, or whatever. Just
Right.
instead of Teslas now, we'd have blimps. We'd have a line of Tesla blimps instead of electric cars or whatever. We just
Yeah.
have a big T on the back of it or something, and it would, you know.
Right. Exactly. That's so funny. It's so
It would
funny.
be such a cool society, but they sucked the life out of everybody on purpose for a long time to make you purposely. It's like, and they quashed any kind of cool inventions or things that would help perpetuate humanity along. And, you know, like the hydrogen powered cars, the water cars, and all these other things that people seem to keep getting knocked off for, because it's like, no, we can't go there. You can't. This is why we can't have nice things. Is that how that phrase goes? This is why we can't have nice things, because of the 1%ers, or these people that are
Right.
hiding history from us. And the more I look at this stuff, the more I'm convinced that it is a 100% fact that has been happening for centuries. And there's, as the saying goes, there's going to be hell to pay at some point. And but on the flip side of that, on the good side, can you imagine the society that we would roll into? Like, people suddenly given free rein to be inventive and creative, whether it's with stuff like this or writing, or even just philosophizing and enjoying life. And I still go back to the whole concept of the like the one big island kind of thing, where people are going from neighbor to neighbor, like they're having people have dinner with each other, and they're walking down the road, and somebody's bringing the corn, somebody's bringing the cornbread, somebody's bringing the tea, and somebody's bringing the ribs and the whatever, and everybody's just relaxed. They're riding their big balls around the island, and they're just kind of hey, we're stopping over to Jen's, she's having a luau tonight, or you know, whatever it is. And so people are shindig, they're pulling up in their canoes and their balls and their dinospheres and their dog powered tricycles, and I just
sounds wonderful. Like, it's amazing to imagine again. Like, I feel like that imagination is waking up in, you know, in many people. I can attest to it, that it's awakening more imagination that I had when I was a child, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point, because my brain goes to childlike whenever I see stuff like this. People they were clearly having fun with this stuff, clearly, and they thought highly enough of it to wear their best. Like you said, they were always wearing their nice clothes, like their church clothes, and like their hats, their jackets. They weren't like wearing wife beaters and, you know, wearing Daisy Dukes and stuff like that. They were wearing their their jackets, their hats, their dresses. They even had their little umbrellas. Like the women had their umbrellas to keep the sun off them. And
Exactly.
it was like, it was a higher, they thought much, like it was a higher, I don't want to say higher society because I'm sure not everybody was rich, but the feeling of, I don't know. It's just refinement, I guess. Maybe that's the word I'm trying to find.
I'm glad you said it because I know what you're saying. I can feel what you're saying because again, going back, I got to get a pencil because excuse me a minute. I want to remember what you said. I just have to write it down. 1 minute, everybody.
Oh yeah.
I
Wouldn't be a show without your pencil.
Yeah, I never go anywhere without my black wing pencils. Oh, I see it over here. Okay. So what I wanted to say is that you're reminding me of the book, The Smoky God.
Yes, and there you go.
When you mentioned that the people have refinement, that's something that I'm picking up on. I'm intuitively picking up on refinement is really the quality. It's not that they are wealthy. It's not about the materialism so much that it's about a higher, you were right. It's something about a lofty, high way of living, refinement, when you do your very best and you take care of details. So let me write it down because I feel a piece of content coming.
Lady Knievel.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I said Daisy Duke, something was going to come up. Lady Knievel says, "Oh my God, we had a flag person a month ago in local construction. Her one thigh was as thick as my torso, and she was wearing Daisy Dukes."
Oh my gosh. Like, people, when you say that, it's like people wore their Sunday best. They didn't they didn't just have Sunday best for one day. People wore, like you say, hats. They were layered in refinement, and it took time to make garments. Even it wasn't fast fashion like we have now that destroys the earth. All this fast fashion. That's the term they call it. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
Where it's this factories in China and they're just turning out clothes every 6 months. And it's like, you don't need new fashion every 6 months. It's making people crazy, and when you slow down and it's a more refined way of living. If you think about, if you have refined clothes that have embroidery, like hand embroidery, imagine the time it takes and the skills that somebody would have. So they're not going to be acting like the low level people that we have in our society now. If you have craftsmen that know how to make fine garments and they take their time, they work in maybe some sort of studio, not a factory, but a studio, of artists, a guild, these kind of people, and they take lots of pride in what they do, and it's not going to be a 2-week turnaround. You might need to give them a couple months, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
You just think about the frequency people would be on in that type of environment. And when I read The Smoky God, they talked about, the people that they encountered, the father and son. They were giant, they were tall, but they talked about the men and how they had these very fine sandals on, and they had just the tunics that they were wearing, and they had an educational system. Once they learned more about these people that lived in Agartha, they had education like where you don't go to school until you're 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So you spend from childhood to 20, you're doing things like exploring your creativity. You're learning pottery, you're learning sciences and your art and all kinds of skills. That's That's what you're learning. And then 20, that's when you start school.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, because I think we're onto something. And I don't know if, I think it goes over the head of a lot of people when they look at this era. It's not like now where if you're going to go to the grocery store, you jump in the car and you got your sweats on, and I see a lot of people with their stupid fuzzy house slippers, like their little whatever, those things where your toes are sticking out, like but fuzzy on top. Saw some of those at Put in Bay the other day. These people were must have just, anyway. Long story, I don't want to get in that, but back then, everything was an event. It's like they spent a lot of time outside of the house, even walking down the street, going to a museum or a shop or whatever. They were always wearing fine clothes. And it's like Jennifer said, this wasn't like a knapsack or something, like a potato sack that you could pick up and just throw a belt on or something like that. These clothes were made on looms that, it took a minute to make some of this stuff and to source the fibers. And, like, so if it was silk, they had to, probably get a shipment of silk from somewhere. Cotton was probably a little more easy, but, and wool and that kind of stuff. But it was just the idea of that you're always like, they had to have been comfortable in their skin to be wearing that kind of stuff all the time. I mean, even in this picture of like this tricycle thing, she's got her little umbrella, he's got his top hat on and his plaid pants. And it's very stately looking for just a casual event, like riding a tricycle with two dogs, Come on, seriously. Right. And that tells me they probably took life looked at life a little differently. They weren't as obsessed with work and obsessed with other, like the little things, like, what do they say? Don't sweat the small stuff. It's like, it seemed like they really enjoyed the pageantry, I guess, because I guess in social circles, it would give people something to talk about. Hey, did you see what Midge was wearing the other day, or Gertrude, or Bertha, whatever those, like, there's always like these specific names you hear in the and early 1900s, like, that were common names. And I know I'm butchering them, but there was just a lot of those kind of Annabelle and those kind of names. And did you see what Annabelle was wearing to the store, or to the livery? That was a big thing with horses and that kind of stuff, to the livery.
Nice.
So I can only imagine what life would have been like. But we've talked about this before, having that there's almost like this familiarity with the whole time period, the way they lived. It was just, there's like a familiarity to it.
It is.
And
it is. Yeah. And I sense the social problems that we have here they don't translate to a society like that, because they haven't cheapened life. Because I hate to say this, we have a disposable right now. I'm just writing as I'm thinking, because I don't want to forget these points, because you really inspired me to understand something very key when looking at those pictures of just those vehicles. And the man had very nice dress shoes on, and he's dressed well. He's not dressed in Adidas, tracksuit.
Or cowboy boots or anything like that, which were still a thing then.
Yeah, but we have cheapened life so much that our fashion, our garments, when you think about garments, are like skins in a way, and they do identify you. It shows how you feel about yourself. So we have degraded, they say we're evolving, but we're devolving. And even in fashion, you could look at how much. When I worked in corporate America, big pharma, they started to have Casual Friday. Do you remember when that came into play?
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people were not happy about Casual Friday because they felt that once you start, and it was more so the older people that had been more corporatized, like they were the suit and tie real, generation. When they heard about this, because the younger people push for this kind of stuff, and they knew that it would start to change the corporate culture. That's what they would say. The corporate culture is going to change. And it did. It did. I saw it myself change once they started the Casual Friday. And Casual Friday became more and more casual because you can't regulate how casual people are going to be. Once you open the floodgates, it's like Pandora's box, because they had a hard time qualifying what is Casual Friday. Does it mean you wear khaki pants or can she wear jeans?
Right.
Well, those are jeggings and they look like khaki. So now now you can wear leggings because she wore jeggings. You know what I'm saying? It starts to, it's a slippery slope. And before you know it, people are coming in pajamas.
Yeah. And they remember that fad. I don't know if it was in the late 80s or early 90s, or when the kids were wearing those ring pops, like, the ring pop candy, like it looked like a big diamond, but it's a piece of candy. Yeah. And they're sitting there, they were sucking on that. And then there was a period where the girls were bringing in binkies, like they had binkies in their mouths. Oh, no. I don't know if that was an Ohio thing or what, but man, there was a period where, like I said, I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s, where
I remember
girls were coming in with the binkies in their mouth, and oh my God, it's like, have some Tide Pods.
Exactly. It just shows where people are. I was just talking about it on the radio the Sunday that even people that graduated from school, it might have been a one-room school, but they could read documents like our founding documents, which have language. We talked about that, remember, John? Like, that language is very advanced. And if you go to DC and you go to the Lincoln Memorial, and I've read, the wall, you have to stop and really like, oh wow, these words are very advanced. And this was the educated person of that day.
Yes. Actually, the educated person of the day understood Latin, or was able to read and write Latin.
Yeah.
And also, there was a lot more real life education too. There was a lot more, I don't want to say home eccy stuff, but in high school, you learned about how to handle a gun, a rifle or a shotgun or whatever. You learn how to cook and balance a checkbook, stitch, make patches for your jeans or whatever. I really, looking back at this now and thinking about it, I don't think it really started to change until after World War II. Like late 40s, early 50s, like when you started seeing like the Happy Days era, like when that took place, not when the show was, but when it was depicting was the 50s, like the sock hops and that kind of stuff, where people were being rebellious by wearing all these different socks and short skirts, and so it just seemed like after the early 50s, it just kind of, that's where it seemed to change. It kind of kept, because look at the 60s, and like, to them, all the risque stuff they were wearing and, trying and experimenting with, because I think about like shows that depict like the 40s and 50s and sometimes 60s, but mostly the 40s and 50s, especially the early 50s. Even back then, I mean, if you think about it, even though you had like one one family income. So usually the father was the one going to the job, but they always, unless it was at a factory, it always seemed like they were wearing a suit jacket or a sport coat
Right.
or
Yeah.
something. And
Exactly.
even the women at home, if somebody was coming over to visit and they weren't taking care of the kids necessarily, they always put on a nice dress, like a nice
Yes.
when they were expecting company or whatever, or they didn't go out to the store unless they were wearing a skirt or a dress or
Mhm.
even like a little shawl or something like that. So they were still conscious about that, you know,
Mhm.
it just took this slippery slide somewhere in the 50s and 60s and just kind
Yeah.
of went on a roller coaster ride. Well, actually, no, they were probably going up the roller coaster hill, like click, 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 click. And when they
Mhm.
got to the late 80s and early 90s and present day, they're on the downward part of that roller coaster now. They're just like hauling butt and just
Yeah.
everything goes now. It's just
Right. That's the unfortunate part, but we could see now how it happened. And when you let one thing go, it's like that book, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, that,
yes.
you know, he talked about when things go viral and it could be good or bad. And that's what's happened. We've allowed things to go viral. And viruses are a big deal to the cabal,
Mhm.
you know. So it's something about whatever
Right.
virality, you know what I'm talking. And it's, you know, he said that in New York City when they were cleaning up, and Karen could relate, anybody from New York, that when they were cleaning up the city, when Giuliani was, you know, was credited for cleaning up the mop and cleaning up the whatever, they
Yeah,
said that,
number 45 helped with that too.
yeah, they were really, working in tandem a lot with that, from what I've understood. And they were saying that they didn't even allow people to jump the turnstiles. They couldn't allow even little infractions to go unchecked, because
Mhm.
that's how the city became so lawless, like Gotham City, is that it starts with little things. Like if you let people jump the turnstiles and say, "Oh, it's not a big deal, you know, it's just a petty crime," then it turns into more. And that's what he called it, the broken window effect.
Mhm.
That if you're in a neighborhood and there's a broken window, it changes how everybody behaves in the neighborhood. It's something, it degrades the neighborhood. That's why those things have to be repaired, because it
Right.
literally changes, like it changes the frequency of the neighborhood. So you can't, if you want a nice neighborhood, you can't have things like that happening. And you know that. I know you and your wife totally get that broken
Oh yeah.
window. Yeah. So I read that book, and it relates to a lot of things. That's what I'm trying to say. I may want to revisit that book, The Tipping Point.
Yes, that's a great point. It's the whole idea of pride and ownership. Even though you don't own the whole neighborhood, a lot of people that do the small things like that and fix the windows and clean up the vacant lots and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
When it's a trickle down effect, when you see the pride and ownership and the pride that other people have in these buildings and these houses and the streets and everything else that surround an area,
Mhm.
it just like by osmosis trickles down to the kids and everybody else. They see, oh well, you know, like these people were taking care of this, so as they get older, they respect it and they take care of it. And
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
kind of a I was, since you brought this up and you know we're in real estate, I was showing this young gentleman some apartments, and I thought I knew a lot of the areas in Cleveland pretty well, but um, this was it. I don't want to say it was a lower income area, but as we were driving up towards the street where this place was, it was like something out of like this, like Escape from New York. It was just this one street. And right soon as I was getting ready to turn down the street, I saw right out of the corner of my eye, and I should have stopped and just kept going. Um, because the place he was looking at, it was like that first house when you turn the corner, and it was like a duplex or a double kind of thing.
Mhm.
There was guys out front without shirts on. They had music blasting. I mean, you could hear it all the way down the street. And they're all standing around with their, their pants hanging off and that kind of stuff. And they're all
Mhm.
looking at everybody like me, like this kind of I don't want to say well dressed, but I had a nice car and everything. And I was driving down the street and they were looking at me like I was out of place. And I felt out of place.
Right.
And there were people walking in the middle of the street. Like there was a guy walking in the middle of the street
Mhm.
and he was walking up to a car. You could tell there was a lot of drugs happening, like, because there was people carrying backpacks and stuff, and they were visiting cars and then going back to their house and then visiting cars and whatever.
Mhm.
So anyway, back to your point, like that one street, if you go rewind, and the people that have lived there before would have took the time to kept up the houses and fixed the windows and mowed the grass and did this and did that, or the police didn't ignore that street or whatever.
Mhm.
I can only imagine what that street would be like now, because it was like an anomaly in that area,
Oh.
and even Julie's like, yeah, I didn't know it was like that. And I'm like, yeah, I said, that was like, I don't get scared that easy, but that was the first time I felt like if I didn't have an exit off the street,
Mhm.
I was gone. Like I was
Really?
like, I wasn't coming
Wow.
home kind of thing.
Oh, that's horrible. Like that's a terrible thought that just turning down a street could change your whole trajectory, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we eventually, we parked in a convenience store around the corner from it. And we walked over, and I think this is what saved us, is I walked directly up to the guy sitting in the chair in front of the door,
Mhm.
and I stuck my hand out and I shook his hand. I said, hey, gave my name, and he
Mhm.
just kind of was almost stunned, and he's like, oh, and then whatever his name was, and he had like, was missing his middle front teeth,
Right.
and then we started laughing because he said this, and the guy I was with was named Raphael.
Okay.
And the gentleman sitting in the chair that I shook hands with,
Mhm.
he seemed like he immediately gave me like I passed the muster kind of look, and he said, well, I'm with, and this was so funny, it was like Chris Rock dressed as a crack addict sitting on a chair saying, I'm with the management around here. And that's exactly what he says. I work for the management.
Okay.
And so I said, yeah, I'm here to show, unit number 2. He goes, oh yeah, if you got the code, just get in the box there. The keys are in there. And he's like, just take your time. And like, he was real cordial after that.
Wow.
And we got out of there with no problem. So it was,
Got out of there with no problem. I love it. That's how you
But-
want to get out of a place with a no problem.
But-
Best way.
and again, it's a lot of stereotyping that happens both ways.
True.
And so I just immediately broke the stereotype. Like I wasn't there to narc on them or whatever. Just,
I love that word.
hey, I'm here to show this apartment. You guys can keep hanging out and doing what you're doing. And it was just funny that he said he was a member of the management. He looked after the place for the management. And
Love it.
it literally reminded me of a scene out of Escape from New York. That's exactly what it was like. Like, how they have the 50-gallon drums burning, like there's like stuff burning in the burn barrels and stuff like that. That's exactly what it was like. It was like a scene from a cross between Planet of the Apes and Escape from New York. It was just like, it was
Oh, God.
crazy. But hey, Joanne, I didn't see you there. How you doing?
Hi, Joe.
So
everybody.
back to the original point Jennifer made. Yes, that the author she was talking about, it's, to me, it just boils down to pride and ownership. And if you take that pride in yourself and in your house and in your car and in your neighborhood, and it just is a big trickle down effect. And again, can you imagine if that's the kind of stuff people are taught outside of the house, like in school? because back when I was a kid, parents did, I think, a really good job of trying to make kids ready for the world, like the reality of society and that kind of stuff. And but now it's like, don't bother me. I'm watching whatever. I'm watching the Kardashians, or there's SpaghettiOs in the microwave, or it's like, the TV and the computer are the babysitters now, and these people know that, and they've gotten very good as technology has advanced. They've gotten very good at programming people, especially young. That's why they're always after the kids. They're always after the kids, because they have the sponge minds, and if you let them grab a hold of them, you might as well forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, and think about the metaverse, and I'm going back to me right now with my device issue. It's weird, but it's a deep lesson in what I'm going through right now with all of every Apple device just about is like going right now. And so, I was doing without one and saying, okay, fine. And then getting down to the last one. And so it challenges a person. I'm being challenged right now, and I've been challenged for the last 2 years or with this technology issue and the censorship with big tech and everything, but I keep fighting to stay in it,
Yes.
because this is the battlefield, as they say. But as I was trying to log into the matrix, if you would, say that, like coming in, hacking into it, I have to fight now to hack into it. I'm going to have to like find a way, like, have the provisions to buy new technology. It looks like I'm going to need a suite of technology. You know what I'm saying? But that can get people down, like, oh my God, how am I going to do it? I know that it's going to happen. Like whatever I need to stay in it, it's going to happen. But people can get really frustrated. It would have frustrated me before, but for some reason I have this peace, about things that would have freaked me out a little bit. This would have freaked me out, having all these devices just go on the fritz like this. But I'm just like, well, it isn't real life, online, nature, the matrix, the web, the World Wide Web. That's not our real life. It's like when I'm outside, that's real life, outside of this stuff. So as long as outside you're living and you're in it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But some people only live online. Imagine that. And you're bringing that scenario of the younger people. They don't know living like you and I and most everybody here in the chatmosphere, growing up and playing outside, where your parents had to make you come inside. Like, come on, get in here. It's time to come in. It's
better
dark,
be home by dark.
Yeah. And I was outside today and nature is just engaging with me. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening? This little fawn, I called it a doe, but a little fawn, okay, came out, and I've seen, it's like a little deer family that, they're over across the way. So they're always frolicking and leaping around and running across the street. They go back and forth. But there's a little fawn, and I didn't know that it was called a fawn. Somebody put it on Instagram, and I called it a doe. Okay, I don't know baby animal names. I have to brush up on that. But the little fawn was very fascinated with Josephine and with me too. Like it came and it was looking and it was looking, and I was able to take my, when the iPad was working earlier, I was like filming it, and it didn't startle. And it was coming closer to me. And Josephine was sitting on the table and she was looking, and then they were having a staring contest. Then the fawn was leaping away. It would come back and then Josephine got nervous. She jumped down and then she tried to run away. But then she was laying, like this fawn tried to come in the gate. It wanted to come in. And she was being a gatekeeper. So what's happening? Like the butterflies are flying all around. They're not afraid. the fawn was trying to come in, and the cat, like, she charged, and ran the fawn back out. So have you noticed this? Anybody, like, that nature is acting a little bit different right now?
Yeah, there's something going on in nature. I'm seeing things that I normally don't see, and I'm seeing things that I have mental, like make mental notes, like that's unusual, or that, I don't know exactly what it is, but I've said this on other shows, but I just feel like something late August, mid August, late August through September, like there's something happening, not just with people, but our entire surroundings. There's something going on. I don't know what it has to do with. I don't know if it has to do with certain stars lining up or whatever. I don't know what the actual explanation is, but even the moon looks different to me. Like we had a full moon. Was it last night or the night before? But because I'm fascinated with the moon, because it's been where we're at anyway. The moon has just been, when it's a clear day, just crystal clear. Like it doesn't look hazy at all or anything like that.
Wow.
And the light is like super bright, and I don't know. It's just
yeah.
feels different.
No, it's something different. Even I was observing the way the sun was hitting things outside for the last few weeks or so. You were in the park with the birds. They're coming, sitting. Oh, really, Karen? Wow, that's so
Julie said
cool.
that tonight too. We normally don't see a lot of finches around, especially yellow finches. And she was outside earlier this afternoon, and she said yellow finch just came right out and flew and just landed right in front of her.
Really? Look at that. It's happening. Something is happening. We're all noticing. Like,
Julie, if you're still on, can you confirm that? Did I say it right?
hey,
I don't want to
Julie. Wow. Something is up. And the animals and
Yes.
the moon, Joanne says, has been huge and beautiful. I haven't even noticed. I noticed maybe a little brighter, like if I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw like something through the blinds a little stronger than normal.
Yeah.
But I haven't really been observing the moon lately.
Okay,
Hey, Julie,
Julie's
it's true?
she's confirmed it. It's true.
Wow, Julie, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. I wish you
Got
could
the
have
green
filmed
light.
it. I wish you could have filmed it. Like, we should try to film when they're doing this stuff, because I happened to catch a little bit of this fawn. And I wanted to ask, like, thank you, Karen, on Instagram, because I post these reels on Instagram. This is my new thing, reels, radio and reels, okay? So radio and reels. So my Instagram, I've been having fun with reels, and I happened to catch the little fawn, and I put it to some music. And oh my gosh, hummingbirds are my favorite. I was just saying I have to they like sweets, so you have to do the sugar. I have some sugar water.
Sugar water, like the
and red. They like colors like red.
Yes, red and yellow.
Yeah, so this is so amazing, like, because the sun, the way that it hits, it looks like a picture. You know how we were studying all this Renaissance art?
Yes.
It flew away. Yeah. Oh,
she says, love the reels.
The reels are fun. And you know what I found out? You can monetize the reels. But
what?
People are monetizing the reels. I got approved for monetization for the reels.
Wow, Meta approved you, huh?
Meta up. Can you imagine? And I get in trouble. I got in trouble. Like, my account, like, I've gotten one Instagram account taken down. Then I have the one I'm working with my backup. They gave me 2 warnings that I was going against their community, because I talked about Klaus Schwab's. I said something about him liking robots, and they said that I was being mean. So
you say anything outside of their frail little world, or if it breaks their little bubble, it's mean.
It's mean.
It's
But
mean.
they approved me
Stop
for
being
the.
mean.
Can you imagine they approved me for the monetization of my reels? But the problem is, I didn't go for the monetization because you know what I heard? Soon as they give it to you, they snatch it away.
Yeah,
For
right.
the dark, I said I'm not playing around with it. I'm just doing social experiments right now and having fun. So yeah, I put the fawn on the reels today, and I asked people what kind of snacks can I get my new friend, because this is my new friend now. And Karen let me know what fawns like to eat. So thank you, Karen. I'm gonna make sure I have stuff for the fawn.
And I will to Lady Knievel's point, I have noticed the squirrels are trying to be more friends too. Like normally
yeah?
I don't know if this is the same everywhere else, but here in Northern Ohio, up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, to me, there were two kind of squirrels. And in Northern Ohio, most of the squirrels were like brown squirrels, like your typical, what you would think a squirrel would look like.
Mm-hmm.
But the last few years, we've got these weird nuclear reactive experimental weird looking squirrels, like these, I don't know. It started out where they were like mostly brown with a little bit of black in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And then they went to all black
Uh-huh.
with brown tails.
Oh, okay.
And now we have literally all black squirrels, jet black, all black squirrels.
Wow.
We have the regular squirrels, which are few and far between. I don't see those as much anymore. And they're bigger. The regular squirrels are much bigger. The black squirrels are almost like they're stunted, like their growth is whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then we have these other little, like, kind of ashy looking gray, emaciated looking squirrels.
Not ashy.
Yeah.
Not ashy.
Not like Tyrone Bigum's ashy.
Oh my God, that's funny. Ashy.
I just realized what I was saying after I said it, but
that's gonna make me laugh later. Okay.
I know. It will, because some of the memes you'll think that, I guarantee it.
That's great.
Matrix squirrels, there you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have tabby squirrels. That's right.
Tabby squirrels, really?
They're literally like brown and black, and like they got brown spots and whatever. They're not all black.
Right.
It's just weird. I've never seen anything like it before, and I understand different populations of animals interbreeding and what the results can be, because I used to breed lizards, for God's sake, and I used to purposely try to create new variations. So I know it happens.
Okay.
But I just never seen it happen so fast and in such a highly concentrated, boom, it just happened. And then like the whole population's like this weird Chernobyl mix of squirrels.
Oh, you know what I meant to tell you? I'm sorry I didn't mention it. I have to do a Zoom meeting at 9:00. Sorry.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Tell you. Yeah.
Casey says some will come take food out of our hands. I love watching the little ones play. Here too, black and with light orange tails. Huh.
Really? That sounds so cute, Casey. Orange tails.
So, all right, we'll stop with the squirrels. I'm going to cover a few other things real quick. I'm sure something funny will come of this too, but I've been seeing a lot about levitation lately. And like in this depiction, levitation was well documented in the case of Saint Joseph of Cupertino, who, it sounds like Welcome Back Kotter. Sounds like a character. Cupertino. Hey, did you see Cupertino today?
Oh, that's funny.
Who was considered something of a nuisance by the church. And I will tell you, in the early Catholic Church, anybody that was a nuisance to them is one of my favorite people, because the early Catholic Church was not all about fun, happy, fuzzy, warm things with people. It was all about control. Still is.
Oh,
I have a segue to that in a second. Saint Joseph of Cupertino, excuse me. Gotta say it right. I sound like Joni and Chachi. Remember Joni and Chachi?
Yes.
Chachi, Cupertino. 1603 to 1663. I'll be here all night. Sometimes hovered a few inches above the ground, sometimes flew high in the air in front of large crowds all over Italy. The the canonization process of the church involves in-depth investigations and thus many written records, including 150 eyewitness testimonies, providing detailed information about Cupertino's levitations. So this dude, he's like the first flying nun, but he wasn't a nun. He was just, look at this guy here. It looks like Watermelon Head, Shifty Schiff over here, just looking up his skirt. What's going on? This guy's he's absolutely freaked out. Like maybe he's passing gas because it looks like his thing's puffed up here, like he ripped a big one or something. But
your commentary is adding so much.
Well, even look at the farmers over here. The people like with the horse.
You know,
like
you
the
can
head.
do this. You know what? You should just do this as a segment. Like take fine art from the Renaissance and do like
Salty Cracker.
Oh my God, that would be so much fun to just do commentary.
Salty, I'm coming for you, Salty.
I like.
Just kidding.
Idea.
If you don't watch Salty Cracker, he's got a great show. Don't you think? You watch Salty, don't you?
Oh my gosh, when I can, like he is helping people get through the.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
He takes the absurd and makes it so much more absurd. And
right.
I love people that don't restrict themselves and just are true to who they are.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this because I don't portray this in front of a camera, but I swear a lot. I don't do it nearly as much as I used to. But I didn't do it for the effect. I didn't do it to try to, do something to hurt somebody or to, make somebody feel bad. It's just kind of how I grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in and that kind of stuff. It was hard to get away from the places I worked and that kind of stuff. But I don't mean anything by it. And that's kind of how Salty is. But he means something by it. He's like, so anyway. Julie says, not around me, I'd bop you. Yeah.
I love bopping. Bop you. I love that. That's like my grandmother used to bop you.
Bop. Look, there's like cherubs up in the sky here too. Look at, they're all like randomly floating around. There's like no specific direction or anything. Like one's this way, one's that way. Like they're all
just
all these
partying,
like,
right? Well, you know, it's not, okay. You see the sky right there and see how the sun is looking? That's what I'm trying to describe. That is what I'm seeing right now. When I go outside and spend time, it just started where when I look at the sun and how it's reflecting, it looks like a painting. I swear, it almost doesn't look real anymore. Like I feel like I'm in the Truman Show. For real this time.
I know, I believe me, and a lot of these older paintings and depictions of especially anybody that was an apostle or in the church or an angel, they always, it's subtle in this picture, but you can see he has a halo around his head. Okay. He has this glow. Jesus had it, Mary had it, the apostle, Paul had it. There were so many people depicted with this halo. And, but you're right. The sun seems different. The moon seems different. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling we're going to find out here in the near future. So, and then many ancient historical records of flying, levitation, teleportation. We're going to talk about teleportation really quick, or astral travel. This is just like a compilation. There's that same Saint Joseph here. There's another depiction of him flying up by a cross here.
Wow.
Look like he's flapping his arms like a chicken. But you see, he has that halo around his head again.
Yeah. Look at that.
And then in a lot of the Middle Eastern culture, you have the idea and the written history of flying carpets. They talked about flying carpets a lot.
I love it.
Whether it was a literal meaning or figurative meaning, there was a lot of levitating and flying going around for a few hundred years or 1,000 years or however long it was. And a lot of people are depicted, like even in the Maya. I've shown this picture before with this guy flying in this what looks like a rocket ship and manning the controls of the ship. In the Maori, they've got these people floating, this dude floating in the air. In Hindu, there's always people flying around in the Hindu, in the Vedas and all their religious texts. And it's not common, but in Egyptian hieroglyphs. And then again, in India, a lot of these battles took place in the air, and depicting striking people from the air. So, and here you've got whatever this is. I don't know what this is here, but there was always this guy's riding this guy's back. He's literally like piggybacking this dude here, who's flying or floating around.
Doesn't that, like, okay, John, freeze that a minute. Remember when you were a kid and you had dreams of flying? Doesn't that give you a sense of deja vu to watch the guy that everybody is on his back? But I mean, he's flying with ease. And when I was a kid, I had all those dreams of flying, and when I would wake up, it just felt so real. I couldn't disconnect the feeling of how real it was. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, in the Vedas, War of the Heavens, and they had a big vapor flying swan chariot. Oh my gosh. This is other level. Like, we have been dumbed down. Like, this feels like nostalgic. It does. It feels deja vu.
It does. Yes, it does feel nostalgic. Like, there's a familiarity to it. So since we're talking about it, why do we
dream of flying? Why do we have that as a dream, a recurrent dream? If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's like on a lot of different levels, but I think at a very just core level, there's something like we're missing. Like we desire that deep down as human beings. Like there's something that was stripped from us. But if you talk to a modern psychologist or psychologist, whatever the difference is, psychiatrist, psychologist, they would say something to the effect of, well, you want to be free from your bonds, you're missing something and you're trying to escape it, you're trying to break free. And that very well could be. But I will tell you, up until probably my 30s, I had very vivid dreams of flying, very vivid dreams of flying, without wings or anything, just, not flapping my arms, just like flying around. And I remember vividly flying over my neighborhood when I was a kid, the neighborhood that I lived in, clearly seeing the tops of the trees in the neighborhood, the roofs, and being able to look at the shingles and flying. And it was like very serene. It seemed like either at dusk or at night. And the wind was just like, the temperature was perfect. The wind was perfect. And it was just I remember how wonderful it felt. It was just like it was natural.
Right. Yeah. Like, who brought, look, Lady Knievel, I was about to say Peter Pan, because that connects to childhood. And it's like, what is it? They like what you're saying, John. The psychologists and psychiatric professionals, they have given their narrative to why we have dreams of flying. And of course, they're going to tell us what they want us to believe. But it seems like it's probably something else, because we spend so many hours in sleep. Where are we going?
Well, it's almost like they want you to make you feel bad about feeling good in your dream.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that cognitive dissonance. It's like if we put this in your brain enough, you'll associate it with a negative thing, and then you'll stop dreaming about it, kind of thing. Because then you're going to start being paranoid that, well, maybe my life sucks and I got to start focusing more on X, Y, or Z, or start being nicer to my coworkers, or pay more in taxes, whatever it is. Let's see, what does Julie say? Lots of flying dreams as a kid. I still have them, but like I'm running and flying between jogs. I also had many dreams where I lived underwater, happy as a clam. See what I did there?
That's so cool, Julie. Like, where when I was a kid, I remember that where you could just walk and just run and just you'd be airborne and then you're back running again, and it was so easy, like you're saying, John. Like it was just organic. It didn't feel like it was not normal. You flew. That's just how it was. So something is there. It's something about it and childhood. So the people that say they still have that dream, that means you're probably still like really strongly connected to your child's heart. The heart of the child, and you haven't allowed the matrix to. That Earth, Wind, and Fire song. It says the child's heart is gold, but the world turns it. Yeah, so it's like. You still have more gold in your heart.
Absolutely. And God wants you to be childlike. I mean,
it says like you can't even approach him unless you have the heart of a child, right?
Correct.
So it's something to that. It's really something to it. I swear, even this conversation right now feels like deja vu-ish. It feels like we've talked about this before. We probably have, but I mean, I don't mean on this show.
One of the billion parallel universes that we all exist in together.
On this show, I mean, like we've all talked about this before. Like we, I don't.
I feel like it too. And to add to that, teleportation is not a new thing or a concept. Because I've been running across it a lot lately, like these arches and these whatever you see like in Paris and that kind of stuff. Apparently, troops of soldiers from the Napoleonic era, the French Revolution, and World War I, marching through the Arc de Triomphe, or Triumph, however you pronounce it, La Marseille, I don't even know how to pronounce. I can't pronounce French. Freaky deaky French, is urging them on. Artist is George Corsat, 1863 through 1934. But I find a lot of these depictions where like these soldiers are marching, but they're getting reinforcements through this portal. Like they're being transported through this.
That's deep. That's deep because when you're around that Arc de Triomphe, it's like it's something to it, like where it's located and everything like about Paris is so spiritually. That's why they have all that like Dan Brown stuff. But you realize like when you go and you see like all of this stuff, it's something more to it. So. I wouldn't doubt that there is a portal there because that area feels like it's something very heavy in that area. You feel it.
Yes.
So it's something there.
And the segue to the Vatican from earlier, just FYI, this is the Vatican's newest 20 euro coin.
Oh, weird.
I'm not going to say anything.
That's so creepy.
That is their newest
coin. Are
coin.
You serious? That's so dark I am ashamed of the profession of nursing. I'm gonna make sure I never have to go back to it. I ask the Lord, please do not allow me. These are Nazis. These are people that need to be in the Nuremberg trials. This is so hideous, and I can't stand my profession anymore. I'm not renewing my licensure. This is horrible. I can't believe they would have that as a coin. That's horrible.
And this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Switching gears.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody's heard of the term sonoluminescence.
Yes.
I ran across this star in a jar, as they call it, sonoluminescence. And God said sound. We always talk about sound because he literally spoke everything into existence. Let there be light, and there was light, and God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. So now I want to show you this video of this concept of sonoluminescence. This is pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm from the 20s. This is pretty dang cool.
That's awesome.
Sonoluminescence.
The first time I saw sonoluminescence was in a darkened room. I was transfixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid. And you'd look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
This is created by sound, by the way.
Wow.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid.
Wow.
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First, it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star. What made the phenomenon so exciting was the temperature of this star in a jar. On its surface alone, the light burns at tens of thousands of degrees. And
I don't know what's going on with the music and everything else. Just ignore it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Or if you like it, whatever. It is what it is.
Seth Putterman now contemplated a tantalizing possibility. Could the core of the collapsing bubble be even hotter? Hot enough for fusion.
Wow.
One of the mysteries of sonoluminescence is to determine exactly how hot the interior of the bubble gets. In the sun, the interior can be millions of degrees, hot enough to cause fusion. And the thought crossed my mind that perhaps inside the collapsing bubble, the interior of the bubble might also get hot enough to cause fusion.
If so, this would be something truly amazing. By simply bombarding tiny bubbles with sound waves, temperatures of over 10 million degrees would be created. And nuclear fusion, the same reaction that powers the sun, would be happening almost effortlessly here on Earth.
You know, we always talk about sound, different frequencies. Can you imagine, like that's the holy grail of free energy, is creating fusion at room temperature with sound in a vial of water and creating temperatures hot enough at the center of these bubbles. Not only do they look cool, but can you imagine if that was the case, if they're able to achieve fusion, it's literally limitless energy, And you only need sound and water.
Wow. Sound and water. Everything is like water. We were told to watch the water, right? And
that's where I was going with this. That's weird that you should say that.
Are you serious? You were going there? Oh my. We're right.
I don't know if everybody gets that reference, but a lot of things have multiple meanings, as we know. And there's just so many things that have been coming forward that we keep seeing and we keep talking about with water powered cars. I mean, there's technically no water powered cars, but they're hydrogen powered cars, and they get the hydrogen from the water. And now we're looking at sonoluminescence, which involves water bubbles and sound. And there's just, to me, there's just something a huge potential that is untapped. And I don't know. And I don't know everything, because obviously I'm not in these labs, and I don't know what people are promoting, what research and that kind of stuff. But that seems like a field of research that I would be dumping a ton of money into if I was looking for a cheap, free energy, or cheap, safe energy. And of course, we know people get knocked. What do you call it?
Unalived.
Unalived. A lot of people keep getting unalived with these technologies. Like the most recent one was a cop in New York, a retired cop in New York, who put out a video to the patent office that he put out publicly as well, to show how his version of the water powered car, or the hydrogen powered car, in this case his pickup truck, worked. Because it was part of his patent application.
Wow.
And he died right after, not too long after that. And
kind of weird, huh? How that keeps happening in a weird kind of, the guy
it's just
before
like
him.
the Clintons have 832 friends that unalived themselves too.
Very
I don't know if it's 800. It's like 500 and something, maybe not 800, but
just off.
I'd hate to be friends with them, because it's just like you got a good chance of getting unalived.
Yeah, 2 would be too many. I mean, so they're really in a zone that's unreal, at this point. But the hydrogen car deal, it's like, I see the answer to this being, just release it open source and do the thing with the blueprints, like a 3D printing company can make, like, everybody make parts, not one. It's not all hubbed in one place. Like, one person makes the engines, one person makes this one, and different people make it. It won't be just one engine, but like changeable things where it's not just, what I'm saying? It's open source. Water is it's untapped resource, like forever. Like you can't you can't tap out of water right now. I mean, come on.
And it's like the idea I talked about with the car that I've had in my head for a long time, and I won't put it on paper.
Okay.
But whenever it comes out into the world, it will be one of those things where I'm not going to try and get it patented. It'll just, here you go.
Yeah.
Everybody do what do what you can with it, kind of thing, because
that's the way to go.
And I saw this a few months ago, then I saw something about it again this week. And I always have to ask myself a question every time I see these images. Why didn't I see this before? And why didn't I ask the question before? A lot of these, like Sumerian and like anything that had like hieroglyphs or cuneiform or whatever, like images, not cuneiform, depicting their people and their gods and that kind of stuff, even in South America and Mexico. I'm going to play this video really quick. And I want you to think about how many times you've actually seen these images and never asked this question. And then we'll talk about this after it's over.
According to the scholars and, well, pretty much everyone else, this is a handbag. But here's the problem with that. No, it isn't, and here's why. We have dozens of ancient civilizations separated by thousands of years and miles, many of which had zero contact with one another, depicting almost the exact same thing. And it's the one thing that doesn't fit the context. For example, here we have the gods of ancient Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki, a race of giant beings who legend claims came down from the heavens, created man, gifted technology, and imparted the knowledge of the cosmos, which is represented by the pine cone, which, fun fact, is where we get the name pineal gland. And if you say it's merely symbolic representing a way to carry this knowledge, then you need to have your pineal gland examined because you don't carry knowledge in a frickin' handbag. Case in point, ancient Hindu religion states that the third eye is the source of all knowledge. Yet, hanging in a tree right above the god Shiva is our handbag. So, it has to represent something else because otherwise the third eye would be represented by a handbag and it wouldn't be hanging in a tree.
I like this guy. Who is this? It's just, I like this kind of commentary where it's just.
But this is the look that I had on my face when I thought about it. I literally was like, "Oh my God, I never saw this. It was in plain sight." So,
Oh yeah, that
so
kind of
see
stuff
this?
is amazing. Wow.
What are they holding?
And
What
the
are they
watch.
holding?
Look at
All
the
these
watch.
different cultures. They're bags.
Yeah.
Like they're holding these bags. Hold on a sec here.
Yeah. But did you see the watch?
See this
Why did you bring up the
bag
watch?
here? Yes, yeah. These holding these bags.
Bags.
All these different cultures, these superior beings are holding these bags. There's one right here. I mean,
amazing. In my bag.
they're either
You know how they talk
bags or
about-
buckets or purses, whatever you want to call them. One right here. All these depictions of all these ancient gods.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. It's powerful.
Another bag there.
Wow.
So
That's so
bag gets
bag.
Gilgamesh bag.
Gilgamesh bag.
Gilgamesh has
Oh,
got his
Gil.
own bag.
You know how we are about Gil and his stuff. Gil.
And this little ancient astronaut dude here is carrying his little bag down here.
I'm loving this. Okay, this is awesome.
Hold on a sec. And in this, you can clearly see this bag hanging from the tree right here from a branch.
That's crazy. Bags and trees. And don't we think about money grows on trees? Money grows.
Right.
Money bags.
Here's another one. You can see the bag hanging from a branch in a tree.
This is deep what you were finding.
I wonder
Oh
if it
my
has
gosh.
something to do with knowledge, because we've learned about and talked about the tree of life and knowledge. And like, you're not supposed to eat from the fruit from the tree of life or the tree of knowledge.
Right.
Because you would know everything that God knows. So all these ancient gods and beings that are depicted on these murals and in these hieroglyphs always show like this tree
Right.
and this bag hanging from the tree. It's like, it's
Oh.
tempting you to take that bag off the tree. Like inside that bag, there's knowledge or something, technology or whatever. But I just see these, I can't unsee the bags now that I saw this video. I can't unsee the bags.
I can't either now. Now, I mean, and the pine, I've seen the pine cones, and you also see those things, the Ankh things, where they put it in the nose for the person
Yes.
to inhale. That's been interesting. And then he's got the watch, like I said, he's got his Apple Watch on. Everybody's got
Yeah,
the
right
Apple
there.
Watch. I mean,
Or
I'm
his
just saying, like,
Fitbit.
Fitbits for everybody. Oh my God, I got
How many steps do you have, Gilgamesh?
Right, I got how many steps? You know he's got a lot of steps. I got to run though to be on this Zoom call that I had to schedule that at 9. So I got to run, everybody. I'm sorry. I'll fix my technology too. I'm glad I could get on like an
Yes, we're glad you can get on too. But
like
at some point this week, get a hold of me and we'll get your technology figured out.
Thank you. Love you, everybody. I'll see you all soon, okay? Thank you, John. Bye, everybody.
Good night, John.
Good night.
Fitbit for fiddly bits. There you go.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night. All right, guys. I think I'm going to end it with a couple memes. I got some other stuff I could show, but I think I'll save them for next show. I always like, I throw this in about every third show or so. But it is a question, if you haven't asked yourself, you should be asking yourself, who took that picture? Remember when the old lunar module was leaving the moon with the guys that supposedly walked on the moon and went back to Earth? Who'd they leave behind to take that picture? So anyway, keep that in the back of your head. So we'll go through a few memes for your viewing enjoyment here, and they're not gonna be in any particular order. So just FYI. The admin's tending to a traumatized member who saw an offensive post. Always got to have some monkeys in. Monkeys are always good. Right. 50 years ago, I bet they'll have flying cars in the future. The future. And I'm sure some of us have seen something like this in their local Walmart. You can even see this employee's expression over here. Right there. All right. I'm not going to read it just in case the algorithm's listening or they actually have somebody watching. Let's see. Lady Knievel says, what is that? Johnny, you may be a symptomatic? Is that how you say it? A symptomatic. I'm going to have to look that up. What does that mean, Lady Knievel? What does that mean? And you remember these old ads where they showed these nurses and doctors spraying the kids with DDT? You know why they don't spray kids with DDT anymore? Because someone questioned the science. Chimp. Oh. I knew Julie would get that right away. Ah, yes, the old schlong COVID joke. Gotcha. This is my philosophy. Wise Man says, the fool shares his problems. The sage shares memes. I've put this one out before, but this is a good one. Simon and Motherfunkle. Come on, that's a good one. I love this one. All right, and what do we got here? There you go. I'm not going to read that one. You can enjoy it for yourself. One of my things, you all know if you've watched any of my shows or anything or watched this one, one of my favorite memes is the meme of I will literally trigger you to enlightenment. So I'm not going to read this one, but this one's good. I know it's weird not reading them, but I keep forgetting I'm on YouTube, so some of the stuff sure walking a thin line even showing some of this, but who cares? Gotta have fun, right? And the sign of our times right now. Socrates once said, smart people learn from everything and everyone. Average people from their experience. Stupid people already have all the answers. There you go. Right from, as Bill and Ted would say, Socrates, right from Socrates' mouth. Again, I'm not going to read these. You can enjoy them at your leisure here. And for those of you that are going to be watching in the future, you can pause the video and at your leisure enjoy them. I literally have thousands, and every week I try to pick a different variety, I guess, depending on my mood. This is funny because I can see this happening at almost any restaurant, and especially with our family. Not really a meme, but kind of funny. And let's see, I have one more here. Don't call it science if you aren't allowed to question it. Call it a belief system. Call it a religion. Call it a cult. But stop calling it science.
Uh-huh.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for sticking around for the entire show. If you have been here since the beginning, for those of you that have had to part, thank you for watching. And those of you that will be watching in the future, share with your friends. Let's see. Lady Knievel says, I used to launch straw panties as well. What we Marines called them, straw panties. Nice. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of this. I hope it made you think something different, made you laugh, made your brain go in a different direction that may not have gone this week, whatever. But, you know, it really helps if you share these. Like Jen and I really want to get this out there. We want to get, we think it's a fun show. We want to get it out to more people. And I already know that shadow banning is the thing. And because of my past channels and stuff, I know that this channel doesn't organically get seen probably as much as it could. So sharing helps. Every little bit helps. So love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, stay frosty. See you later.